Hey guys, StarCraft here. Now I know I hinted at the end of my Savage Dragon, Superman Savage Dragon reviews I'd be doing, well, Cal-El said I was going to do this. Incredible Hulk versus Superman. And then eventually after that I was going to be doing Darkseid versus Galactus, The Hunger. I will get to those as well, but then I found out how today they're recording this, but yesterday is when you'll see it. I found out that it was the late great Michael Turner's birthday, and well, what would have been his birthday. And I've been a big fan of his work. I mean, well, I don't have it with me right now. I loved the concept he had for the book Shrugged, the Shoulder Angels and Devils and everything. But more importantly, of course, is his artwork, especially stuff with Aspen Comics. And one thing I could have talked about would have been his Supergirl arc on Superman Batman, but I'll get to that time about that once I finally eventually get to the Jeff Lowe retrospective. But just look at that artwork of his. I'm just showing off on this one because that's how I'm going over. Instead, I'm going to be going something over that while he didn't do the artwork for, his fingerprints are all over this. You could definitely tell. And that is Superman Godfall. Now, I'll show some things from in this because, well, first I want to show off this. Signed by Michael Turner, Peter Stegrold, and Talon Caldwell, the artist. Which I showed some ahead with the Supergirl one. I have. He and Peter both signed this and dedicated it to me. So these are some of my priceless possessions in my eyes. But in this case, what is Superman Godfall? It's a storyline that's set after the events of Superman 200, or Superman Volume 2 200, which was after they said a farewell to probably what I consider one of the weakest Superman creative teams. You had Joe Kelly and Joe Casey, who are both running out of steam, and then you have Stephen T. Siegel, who, well, I know Casey, Kelly, and Siegel make up Man of Action, who've done Ben 10 and all that stuff. Siegel especially was not good choice for Superman at all, and this was also when we had the Kal-El Supergirl era, the one that was created to replace Linda Danvers and eventually led into the return of the Kal-El Supergirl in this, but we're not there yet. But this was also meant to give this and a prior story arc, which I'll get to one day, which brought in Mr. Majestic from the Wildstorm universe into the DC universe. And that's when my bad. That story and this were both meant to fill in until the new creative teams would get on board. Who was that creative team? You had Greg Rucka on Adventures of Superman. You had Brian Azzarello and Jim Lee doing their Superman for Tomorrow. I'll get to that eventually. And you also have Chuck Austin on Action Comics. Yes, Chuck Austin. But the other interesting thing I want to point out about this era is that this was before Jim Lee got a big name, because this was right around the time of Jim Lee doing Hush, and then he went on to do Superman for Tomorrow. And eventually this is what would lead to him getting his new start in life and eventually become a big name more so with DC. But back to this. First of all, and a bit of irony, Joe Kelly had left, and then as he says here, now this I'll be reading from here because, as Joe Kelly himself puts it, this hardcover here is like the director's cut of Godfall. Skip this forward, especially if this is your first time reading Godfall. As they say in the digital realm, here there be spoilers. You may want to consider passing this up if writers waxing on about their own work or superstar collaborators gives you hives. Instead, go read the story. Rock on with your bad self, etc., etc., as he explains everything. But at one point he said, after 4 years on Action Comics, it was time for me to say adios to Metropolis. With an 810 complete, I called Eddie Berganza, to reminisce and, of course, scare up more work. Hey, Eddie, sure has been fun, hasn't it? 4 years of truth, justice, and stuff? Good times. Good time. So, what do you want to do next? Now, I want to also point out, Joe Kelly's also one known for doing What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, the American Way, and I believe it was 775, I believe it was, I think. But that famous story, Joe Kelly did that. But anyway, Eddie then said, how about 6 issues of Superman with the Aspen guys? I'm not sure you can go home again. Don't even get a chance to leave. But you can have a hell of a time visiting, especially when you were someone you've never been before. Especially the Aspen artisans, Mike Turner, Talon Caldwell, Jason Gorder, Peter Stegwell, Christina Strain. Oh, I love her art coloring too. And her secret weapon / babyface whipcracker, Frank Mastromarro, however you say his name. And well, that's what got him in to do this. It was both again fill in stuff, and also after the events of Superman. Superman 200. And Superman was missing, and during that time you have Majestic flying around. But this is to explain where he was tossed, and well, he was tossed in the city of Kandor. And the interesting thing about all this is that it turns out that It turns out this is also takes a few bits of elements from a Golden Age concept. I'll get to that when we get there. But, well, let's begin, shall we? Why do all dreams share visions of flight? Is it the longing of the spirit to be free of the meat and bone and dirt of mortal life? Do we tap a shared memory of some lost history when we could soar at will? Or is it simply base jealousy that propels the mind into the clouds? For how can anything that flies be burdened by sorrow or want? How can anything that dances with that wind stay still long enough to hurt? What would one give to find out? What would one give to fly? Shit, Superman on a motorcycle. That was one of Michael Turner's ideas. And again, he didn't draw this. That, my friend, as you can see by the credits, in my hardcover, it's not in here, is the, this is the talent of, Talon Caldwell. And one matches Turner's style but does his own thing. He is a great artist, very underrated. A lot of the Aspen guys are. I mean, Michael Turner was the big name and he died way too soon. Makes you wonder where artwork would be like now if he was still around. But yeah, that's Superman or should I say Kal-El on a motorcycle going through the city. As he's basically saying about rent, bill, power, and all that stuff. As he eventually, you think he's on Krypton. As he makes it home, but even thinks that I have more than most on Krypton. The house my father built me, a good job with the government, and of course my, oh no, as you see that he burnt dinner, as he puts it in the water. And you think he's talking to, well, his wife. But that's not Lois. Nope, it's, that's Lyla. Yeah, taking the name Lyla, that was Superman's girl and his wife and love interest back in the original Return to Krypton storyline. So nice little nod, but she doesn't look Kryptonian at all. Yeah, those ones in the Aspen guys were best known for his cheesecake, and you can hardly get artwork like that anymore. And even Superman says she's a goddess. And well, first of all, and they're just flirting, of course. But like, what if I told you you and Mrs. Spy? I told you we can't. We'd be late for work. Oh boy. And again, they are perfectly flirting and being, as he thinks, husband and wife. As they head out as she's dressed. Aw, kidding. As they're heading out, and all of a sudden he seems to be shot by some goop stuff. And it's a young child named Kandor, who says he wants to be a CPC when he's in the CPC. So I'm a hero. And well, basically this splat it looks like it's a creature, but he gives it back. And Kal-El seems a bit put off. He's like, "Yeah, you got it, hero." All of a sudden, things start seemingly shake for a moment as Kal-El tells Lyla and Khan to get back, but then he points out it's a tremor. And we're led to believe that Krypton never blew up. That Jor-El was able to save it, but sacrificed his own life to do it. As we then see Kal-El going through on his bike, driving around, and all of a sudden a biker gang attacks him. As he starts swinging and swerving, until eventually, he knocks him aside and gets away, causing him to crash. And all of a sudden, though, sunlight seemingly bursts through the red sky, and for a brief moment, the yellow sun seems to give Kal-El heat vision as he zaps one of the bikes, causing that to crash too into a building. And then and they basically take off as they realize no one said he was armed, as we then see Kal-El wondering what's going on. Suddenly, his problems don't seem as significant anymore. He doesn't know what's happening to him. As everyone is freaking, running away, wondering what's going on. As Usher pointed, there's aliens on Krypton, it seems. As we didn't see the Citizens Patrol and Corps show up. And basically they're soldiers. As they're led by one of them. Just forgot his name right now. We'll get to his name later. But Superman and Kal-El, feels like something's missing. He doesn't know what. And then as he explains everything to Lyla, he even says, Now you tell me I'm insane and I turn myself into the CPC. And she basically tells him, those animals tried to kill you. Why didn't you report them? And he felt like it didn't feel right. It felt like a dream. They're just talking as, again, they seem to be husband and wife. Again, you think, oh, so he's back on Krypton and all that? As he's then looking around, they feel like it's paradise. When all of a sudden those biker guys show up again. As they start attacking, as all of a sudden more sunlight comes in as, well, things happen, and next thing you know, Kal-El's up in the air, flying, wondering what's going on, as they're wondering, like, anyone else feels like their brain fell out right now? As again, they're wondering, like, they think, oh, it's an anti-gravity suit, and still, he then, she tells him, and Lyla tells him, Cal, look out, but Kal-El flies down and tackles one of the guy, knocks him aside, as he lands right in front of Khan and his family. As well, the guy keeps on the biker guy keeps on taunting him. As well, they are freaked out because apparently aliens are prejudiced, and Lyla is an alien, and that's led to some stuff with Cal being married to her. Of course, I should have pointed out. But yeah, basically they feel like this guy's, Cal even says, he's dangerous. Right. I'm the alien scum out for your women and children. So what does that make you, Cal? All of a sudden, Cal then does a big freeze breath as he suddenly freezes Khan and his family solid in ice. As then Kal-El freaks out. He's pounding on it. His fist starting to blood and the blood seeping into the ice. As then all of a sudden the CPCs start to show up. Next thing we know, we see Kal-El and Lyla find Kal-El as he's wrapped up his eyes and bandaged his arms, as he doesn't even know what he is. He feels like, I killed him. And she tries to tell him, you're not a monster, and he's just freaked out, wondering what's happening. What did I do to deserve this? As we start to pull out and find out, he's not on Krypton. Not exactly. He's in Kandor. Yeah, the bottled city of Kandor. Now, to point out one thing, this is not the Kryptonian city. Not exactly. In this point, and it would be until Kurt Busiek's run on it, this has long since been a bottled city of Kandor that was basically little bits of aliens from all over the galaxy. That's why Superman is, and why all these aliens are here, because this is Kandor, not Krypton. And then we see the CPC soldiers show up. As we find out now, his name is Sergeant Prius. What, does he work on electrical and gas too? As he walks up and sees young Khan frozen and obviously dead. As he's now making a vow, he will bring whoever did this in, this alien filth. We then cut to Metropolis. As we see Lois and Perry talking, and basically she's worried for Clark. I mean, obviously Majestic is handling things. They don't mention that because obviously this was done at the same time. But I love all of it in this bit. We have a system. She takes a drink of alcohol. He doesn't get killed, and I don't play the worried wife. Puts the glass down. Damn. Obviously she's worried. As we see back in Kandor at the Terraforge, again, and for some reason Kal-El thinks this is Krypton. As Lyla's leaving him in there, as he's just thinking like, I'm a murderer. And Lyla, the only non-Kal-El to work the forge, she's incredible, and feel like another gift I'm unworthy of. Now we know Louis is out there, and yet he thinks he's married to Lyla. What's going on here? As they're going through, all of a sudden, we cut back to the bikers, wondering what's going on. All they know is that Kal-El dies, the wife too. That's what they've been paid to do, and well, that's exactly what they have to do. As we then see Lyla's trying to help Kal-El out, and then he's saying, she says, I can help you if you'll let me. And he says he does, and he could take away the pain, and he does if he had the power. And all of a sudden then, she starts putting her hand through him as she's now giving an wicked smirk. Now I can. As we then see Priya's, he's looking and saying, it is the end of everything you built. When good, honest people cannot walk their own street. Without fear of murder by the filth that infects your garden, I became a courseman to follow your lead, to rid paradise of evil and impurity as he's talking to a statue of Superman. Give me the strength to be the vessel for your will and help me bring this animal to justice, whatever the cost, for Kandor. And we then see Lyla's constantly putting her hand through him, whatever she is. She's starting to absorb him. Hush, beloved. Once the sistering concedes to the process, I cannot stop, or both lives are lost. You took so much less time than I expected to break. Who knew it'd be this easy to unseat God? All of a sudden, all these images start coming through. He starts seeing his history, being found by Ma and Pa, Lois, himself as Superman, the bottle city of Kandor, as she explains everything to him. Basically how this was the last nation of Krypton. Basically, this is where we get things mixed up a bit. It is a bit of Krypton. This is where continuity is a bit up in the air. Parts of Krypton were there, but it is not truly Kandor. Next, we then see a lot of his villains and the Justice League, a very menacing-looking Doomsday. And then we see his deaths, resurrection, Lex as president, etc., etc. And it's made very clear, Lyla thinks he's God. And she thinks that everything outside of Kandor is our gods, and basically feels like, he took a woman to be his wife. All this stuff. He truly a native demigoddess. That's what they think they all are. And I find that interesting. The very fact that Lyla thinks that that's what he is, a god, and that basically she's trying to absorb his essence and ascend to godhood to become, because, there's nothing for her there in Kandor. That's pretty deep and clever. And she keeps on taking more. I would find a way to force you to walk the mortal path of your native soil, to suffer the bleakness I have endured. And then I pulled God down from the sky to look upon his works. And in his despair, I have taken his body and made it my own. Awake, Kandor, a goddess is born. Don't be sad, Kal-El. I promise where you failed, I will thrive. Because she also blames him for Kandor becoming this, because he basically neglected it. Because apparently there was a glitch that caused Kandor to progress much faster than it had before. So basically everything we knew beforehand about Kandor, all most of those characters, like one guy named Scorn, gone, replaced by all this. As now we see more from Lyla, and now in her underwear too. Glory, I have ascended. It is time to meet my kin, I think. The seat of the gods, Metropolis, welcome your newest daughter. Wow. Again, this is clever, smart writing, if you ask me. It's a bit deep and pretentious a little bit, but still. As we then see the guys are looking around for Kal-El until they find him, and basically ask, what's going on here? Why do we have to find him? Why can't we just roast him? To which basically the leader realizes he was scammed and he wants his due. Basically they were told Lyla would take them all, but she lied to them. And then all of a sudden Priya shows up saying, give me the killer, which he thinks is Kal. Meanwhile, we then see Lyla show up in Metropolis. Again, just so grandiose. What do gods talk about, I wonder? As she lands, but then realizes heaven doesn't doesn't smell very nice. Perhaps the gods employ a working class. And the guy walks up wondering like how much, thinking she's a whore. And he's like, I'm thinking, grabs her ass, and then she tosses him. Disgusting thing! Show some respect. Can't you see what you're dealing with? You ain't Power Girl? As she basically feels like, what has gone wrong? This place is loud and foul and impudent. This is Metropolis, isn't it? Isn't this heaven? Uh-oh, she's snapping. As we then see Prius is chasing after them, wanting the Kal-El, the murderer, does not and get away, as he's going to be chasing after him. And basically told you not to engage, but he is driven. Because the thing about Prius is, he's a xenophobe. Complete and utter xenophobe. As basically they keep on chasing until they make it to somewhere that's going to transport them. And, oh no, not transport them, they go into the desert. As Prius gives up chase, it looks like. As now they're out in the desert, seeing all the other aliens that aren't in the city. As basically, the guy tells them what the truth about everything, and his boys are not happy about it. And basically, he's saying you could go right back, and he's like, I can't. And he's like, sure you can. You're pure K. They'll slap your wrist and send you home. And send you home and figure out a way to pin freezing drying the pups on us. Watch your damn mouth. And basically he gives them a chewing out and everything. But he's starting to remember now that he's Superman. Of course they think, you're crazy, man. You're crazy. And basically saying you need to see something. That's when now seeing she's devastating everything, wondering what's going on. Where is the rest of Kal-El's pantheon? Why was I not greeted in kind? I am his successor. Where is my reward? As she then sees the Daily Planet. Uh-oh. As basically, Kal-El is starting to show Superman is starting to show him everything. Explain everything. Alright. In 100 years, man leapt from the shores of Kitty Hawk to the moon and beyond. Okay, I'm not going to read all this. It's more prose, but it's some interesting wordy stuff. As he explains all about Kandor and everything, they didn't know there was an outside. They didn't know about the bottle, about Krypton. None of it. I'm tired of watching lives shatter. Damn you, Lyla. Calix and I installed the ventricle in order to vent excess pollution from the city. Never in a million years would I imagine I'd use it to escape Kandor as a fugitive, a murderer. As the portal powered up, basically this is their way of escape, as he explains. Back home outside, I've been in the fight of my life, thousands of years in the future. Get around, Dodie. As all of a sudden, as he sent through it all, he ended up landing right into Lyla, who had a strong feeling. But it wasn't love, it was faith that pulled me to her. And basically, the leader of these guys says, like, yeah, she took us for a ride. And basically, like, he knows how she uses her powers. I know what she did, and he could help. But basically, he's saying he'll come back. They don't know what the Kandorians can't survive outside for long. He's tried. If 100 years truly has passed, who knows what the side effects has become now. But the guys insist still, as, well, they come along as they get out. Kellex then explains everything. He says, you have exactly 3 minutes to figure out what's happened to Kandor. The computer tells you everything is status quo. Bypass it and interface directly with the city. Then tell me why these powers and these people aren't 2 inches high. Basically, in other words, they were able to grow as well, which is just as confusing. And I like that. It's changing the rules, but having it be, yeah, we know that rules are changing. Figure out why. As they're starting to head out, as we then see Lyla has come towards to Lois and declaring God is dead. As we then see Superman's got a new outfit as he's flying. The gang are all on their bikes driving out. They have names, but they're all basically the same thing, the gang. As basically then, as they're making there, here's what Kellex reveals. Spatial temporal disjunction. That's what I have so far, and one heck of a system glitch. Over the last year, Kandor began to contract past a stable threshold, and somehow time compressed with it. Our machines compensated, terraforming land and resources, but their sensors never been registered a problem, subject to the same physics. Meanwhile, our hardware was buffering the overflow of data. Left hand, right hand sort of thing. We didn't know what was happening for a relative century. There was no way you could have known, Cal. You protected Kandor for years. Wasn't that enough? No, it definitely was not. As they show up and you see what looks like Lyla attacking Brainiac, the Dark Mind as she calls it, as she fights and then rips his head off. And the guy tells him, Basket is his name. All right, I'll go with the name. And you can't beat her. I'm getting stronger by the second, Basket. I know you can't because she's become you. She's an empress. Didn't think there were any of those left in Kandor. The CBC hunted them down decades ago. Every cell in her body is telepathic. That's how she fooled you for so long. Made you hear in Krypton instead of Kandor. She read your body when you two merged. If you're getting stronger in the yellow sun, so is she. And she is your powers, and she can probably mind wipe this whole city if she tries. As we see Lois then just flaunting over Lyla. Basically they've taken into this belief of what she's had, as Lois has no idea who Superman is. As Lyla explains, I was wrong about this place. I see that now. This is not heaven. It is my proving ground. I must earn my place, as you have, and make them love me if I once loved you. As she explained it all further, how she was born an enemy and unclean, how she was hunted down. My only comfort came from the old myth tales. Heavy was hope. My father believed that the Superman could unite Kandor, if only he remembered us. His neck was broken beneath a Kandorian boot. I began dreaming of you after that, every night. Soon I knew in my heart that they weren't dreams. They were visions. We were connecting. And then you came to me, broken, exhausted. I didn't know from where you or why. I didn't care. I called for you and you came. I risked discovery to read you, darling, to benevolently a low alien and girl could touch a god, let alone understand him. Imagine my surprise when I find you were flesh and blood, with a life, mystic history. I could read your mind as I could any mortal creature. In a rush, I remember these stories, and, well, basically we find out this is when time was starting to adjust and Mark Waid's Superman Birthright became more the origin, as that's what we see, as you can see here. And it basically goes over the origin, and she basically realized, well, you were real and allowed, and what came over me then shocked me to the core. For it was not the desire to heal you. I was furious. You were real, and you allowed me to suffer. You made my hell. And in an instant, I decided to make one for you. A new history, a new life where you never left Krypton. You would learn the lesson of the forgotten. And basically, she created all the life. She hired the rebels to ensnare it into violence, pushed him over the edge, created the family. Kal-El especially, she said, I supplied a family. And she then, just so he can let himself go, and eventually she could do this and ascend. Everything is possible, as then she recreates all of his enemies to come in and fight. Everyone else is attacking, as obviously Doomsday shows up. Lois is now all of a sudden starting to remember, as she declares, not again. But Superman reveals Kandor wasn't real. Doomsday punches and does nothing, as he realizes he's not a killer. This, of course, causes Lyla to flinch in pain, as it revealed they're psychotarts, or something like that, constructs of psionic energy. As he then tries to explain that, I'm not a god, Lyla. I'm just a man, a flawed man who failed you. Kandor is my charge, and I didn't do things right. But of course she's like, don't talk to me like a child. I have the power now, real power. As all the time Beckett and all the others are starting to convulse, as their time out of Kandor is starting to get to them. But all of a sudden then, someone plows right through. As they're speaking, your alien hell is poisoned, was Kal-El. Actually, no, I take that back. I take it back. No, I was right. Someone's all of a sudden attacking them all. As he then saying, your air, your sickly yellow sun, it's not fit for Kandorian blood. A fitting place for accomplices to rot. You are a monster among monsters, Kal-El, but even here where you breed, as we see Prius, you will suffer for bringing murder to Kandor. You will pay with your life, as he's shown up now, as he is now completely enraged by everything. Right, did I miss something? Nope, he just showed up out of the blue. And then he just starts well, he's ready to attack everyone as the other rebels are dying and everything. They were telling Basket, like, if only you, and you believed like we did. Because basically they would follow him anywhere. That's why he feels like he's broken. As we then see Kal-El trying to explain to him, I did not kill anyone, Prius, but he won't listen. He's blinded. As he feels like, you dare defile the colors of Superman? Again, he feels like there's no way he could be Superman. As Lois tries telling Lyla, do something, and she feels like they help them, and God helps those that help themselves. As Prius just starts knocking them around, pounding them through. And I love how Lois says, you really suck at planning a homecoming, Clark. As the other rebels decide to get on their bike and figure things out, as then the SCU show up, they're ready to attack them. As Superman tries to explain that they weren't real, none of them were. Well, this leads to the question of, did Lyla's thing affect Prius by accident, and he just believes it? But all of a sudden then, you start to see Prius have black eyes glowing as he shoots his own vision, black fire out. As Superman flies down and takes the hit. As Lyla's trying to figure out what's going on. As it turns out, the rebels continue in. They start shooting at Prius. Same for Kandor. As, well, it's made very clear. Yeah, Prius, he spouts doing for truth, justice. He does it. He just cares about enforcing. He isn't a legitimate dictator and fascist. As Superman realizes that, because he's not even listening. As so many of the others are getting wounded. As Lyla walks up, as Baggett explains to her, face can only get you so far, right? Had enough reality yet? As basically, as Lyla's just stunned by everything that's happening. As Prius then explains, I had an epiphany. I have to thank you. This stopped being about a murder the second you brought me here. It is about my greater purpose, the power and responsibility that has been that you should have been strong enough to bear. As all of a sudden, Lyla tries to attack Prius, and it says that, tells them, feel the shame and the hate in my heart. And as you suffer the indignance of Kandor 7 times over, knowing that Kal-El of Krypton he is a good man, something you'll never understand. As Prius, he's ready for all this, as the armor compensates, and it's basically saved off the exposure sickness, hence why he's not being ill, and Lyla's not ill because of what she absorbed from Kal-El. As he then grabs onto her and starts to manipulate her power and try to make Metropolis his heaven, which is a nightmare. As basically Superman gets out of there, flies right up towards him, and basically says, no more! I was tricked into believing I was a murderer. I was assumed to be some kind of deity and betrayed for it. Those were horrors, but you will not pervert my life into a justification for hate. And basically, when they both are holding on to Lyla, as Lyla decides to choose. As all of a sudden, a bright light envelops everything. As Superman Prius continues on fighting. As Superman tries to tell Prius, you have to let go of your history, hate and blind devotion, and choose to live. But Prius won't listen. And when he says, she'll destroy it all, you fool. Her kind poisons everything they touch. To which Superman says, she won't. He has faith. As he then tells them, I can't promise you heaven, but I'll do my best to make it right. But Lyla says, some things cannot be made right. But she is one of them. As she then disappears into a big flash of light. Weeks later has passed as, Clark burns the food again as Lois shows up. As they kiss and they're trying to move on with their life. And it turns out so many of them have Baggett's men, people have died, except for him and the little guy. As basically his surprise, the Kandor has left everything in a tizzy. The CPC's in charge. The winds of change are blowing, but they buried all those who've fallen against Lyla and Prius. And basically, the non-Kryptonians have been recognized. And he managed to work the sea fires among everyone. Things are starting to move on. But Prius and Lyla, No idea where they're at. Priya's armor and the genetics that Lyla's copy over allows them to be survive. And they're both incredibly powerful. And what choice will they make? Will they find heaven or hell? As we see Prius is yelling and he's like, it won't come off. By my father's blood, I will see you die for this, Kal-El. And all the impure will die as he's cutting a slash into the Superman symbol on his chest. The armor won't come off. As we end there. Okay, I hope my talking went over very well. There was a lot, again, I breathed through. I didn't do all the dialogue because I'm just explaining it. It's all to a spotlight, not a read-through. But, yeah, I really like this story. Very much so. Great idea. Joe Kelly and Michael Turner, great stuff. Talon Caldwell, you saw that artwork, was phenomenal. Oh, just some of the ideas, just the idea of Kandor progressing so fast, so Superman has become a god, and then you have subjugation, all this stuff. It's a dark story, but it makes a lot of sense. The idea of people sometimes holding on to faith to the point where it becomes a detriment. The idea then of someone else perverting Superman's teaching, saying he's doing it in his name, what he's just using as an excuse for his hatred. All this stuff, such great ideas. This was some of the best writing. I still put Joe Kelly and up there as one of the best Superman writers when he's really hit. He's had a bunch of misses as well, but this, what's so funny about truth, justice, in the American way, stuff like that, great work. And again, Michael Turner's ideas were phenomenal. It's such a shame he's no longer with us, but yeah. So, this is such an underrated book. So much so. I wish more people would recognize this as a very good one. I wish it would get a reprint and stuff like that, but what are you going to do? Hell, it's hard for me to find it in the cover and to show it off, because that's a nice cover right there. Now, Prius at the very least would show up during Chuck Austin's run, having him meet up with a bunch of rednecks. But in a way, it kind of fit given how racist he is and xenophobic he is. But I'll get to that eventually. But Prius was an interesting idea. Lyla was very interesting. So much of stuff was done. And again, just what it pushed. It was just a great story. And it led the way for the next era to come about afterwards. And yeah, that's all I got to say about all that. So, till tomorrow, like I said, I will definitely get into doing this. And then come Wednesday, I will be doing this. After that, who knows? Might do Hobgoblin Lives, might do something else, but that's what I've got. Michael Turner, we miss you, buddy. Hope you're looking down from us still sketching up there with the likes of Jack Kirby and everyone. So, that's what I gotta say. Take care.